the leader in talk radio on the internet, right here on K98Talk.com.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. And then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-513-6154. That's 1-800-513-6154. Again, 1-800-513-6154. Call now.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it. There to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
All right, folks, this is Rick Robinson with you. I want to tell you about some friends of mine from a company called Security Enforcement Specialists. When I ran my security agency for 12 years, I worked with one of these partners on a daily basis. He's been involved in this agency now, and with his other partner, they do have over 30 years of experience in the private security industry. If you own a business and you need someone to keep you or your customers or residents safe, then I highly recommend contacting Security Enforcement Specialists today. Give them a call at 405-703-1796. Again, that's 405-703-1796. Again, tell them Rick from K98 Talk sent you. Like I said, if you need the help, they are here for you. So make sure that you go look them up, check them out, and see what they can do.
Wrong way. Welcome to the place. Welcome.
Joe had huge problems with the IRS.
I knew it was coming. I hadn't filed taxes since 1990.
All the IRS letters coming in added up to a nightmare.
To get up to like $68,000, my heart started beating fast. It's like, there's no way, man. I mean, I ain't going to be able to do this.
Then they stopped his paycheck.
So that's when I started making phone calls and found U.S. Tax Shield.
U.S. Tax Shield went to work immediately.
They just took the bull by the horns. What blew my mind is he called the IRS right then and there.
So why is U.S. Tax Shield A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau? Joe knows.
They saved me a ridiculous amount of money.
If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or state, choose the company Joe chose, U.S. Tax Shield.
It was the best decision I made. U.S. Tax Shield is the way to go. Life is good. Thank you, Lord.
Call 800-471-3287.
U.S. Tax Shield. Boo-rah. Yes.
800-471-3287. 800-471-3287.
The Internet will never be the same. You're listening to K98Talk.com.
Whoa! Good God, y'all. What is it good for? Absolutely. Now get set again.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the Internet, we're coming to you live from the CCRS studios. WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard.
Businessman there, drink my wine.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Welcome, everybody, and welcome, fellow patriots. Welcome once again to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show. Have to start today's show a little differently because we have this news flash. Here we go again. Active shooters in San Bernardino, California, multiple victims. San Bernardino authorities report Wednesday as many as 3 active shooters with rifles and multiple victims in San Bernardino near a golf course. Witness reported shooters wearing ski masks and vests. My God, here we go again. We'll keep you posted as we go along. And joining me today as my co-host is the Patriot from the Silver State of Nevada, the battle-born state, Sharon Engel. Sharon, here we go again.
I know, and that's pretty close to home, Rick. San Bernardino, if you have trouble saying San Bernardino.
San Bernardino,
folks,
thank you.
Yeah, the folks that are native to that area call it San Bernardino, but San Bernardino is just south of here, not too many miles, probably about an 8-hour trip. And it's a smaller community. It's not a large community like Los Angeles or San Diego or San Francisco. This is more of a family community out in the desert, really, between L.A. and Las Vegas. So it's striking and shocking and stunning to see this kind of violence spring up in a place like that. It really sends a clear message, I think, to all Americans that just because you live in small-town, heartland America doesn't mean that you're safe.
Apparently, San Bernardino, as you said, it's 60 miles east of Los Angeles. The San Bernardino police reports that SWAT teams were on the scene and that officers were preparing to accept around 30 hostages who are set to come out of a building at the site. So, well, here we go again. Unbelievable. Oh, another gun-free zone, I guess.
Well,
sure.
It's difficult, I guess, in California. Their gun laws are quite a lot stricter than many states. In fact, we see every time we have a gun show, and actually, whenever our gun stores get shipments of ammunition in, it's not the Nevadans necessarily that are in line for that. It's Californians that come over to get their ammunition, get their guns and things, because it's so difficult to buy them in California that they really do come over to Nevada to just be able to exercise their Second Amendment rights. And I think this last month we saw an increase in CCWs, concealed carry of weapons permits across the United States. And the reason is, Rick, our citizens don't feel safe anymore. They don't feel that the country is providing for their common defense.
Absolutely.
And it's a frightening thing when people are concerned about their safety when your government is not doing its job.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Well, that kind of changes our show schedule a little bit. I wanted to take this first part of our show, Sharon, to talk about your new book, A New Angle for America.
Well, it is coming out in a limited edition preview, and we're offering 2016. We thought that was a good number, 2016. 2016 special edition, limited edition copies, and you can get that online at Conservative Commando's radio show's websites. We're going to put it up there so you can click a link and go see the new book. It's a companion piece to my first book, Right Angle, and if you didn't get a chance to read Right Angle, you might want to go to SharonAngle.com and you can order a copy there of Right Angle, and then you can catch up on the sequel, I guess, A New Angle.
Sharon, I hate to report this to our audience, but police are responding to reports of an active shooter in San Bernardino, California. As many as 20 people have been injured, officials say. And that's the latest. I don't know where to go with this anymore. I want to thank Mary Brockman for letting me know. Apparently this just started happening as we went on the air, Sharon Angle. So the new book is A New Angle for America, and it is available, and we're going to post information up about your book on our websites, ConservativeCommandosRadioShow.com, CCRShow.com, and CCRSNetwork.com, just as soon as we possibly can. Wow. I'm sorry, Sharon. I'm just.
I was thinking that we're going to have a little different show today. Not only do we have this breaking news, of course, that we're reporting on, but we also have a guest in the second half of this first half hour, which I know you're excited to interview, and that we have other guests as well. So perhaps we should take this last minute here before we go to that break and just do the rundown on our show. What do you think?
I think that's a good idea. In about just a couple of minutes from now, we're going to have Judy Travis with us. She's the founder of Stockings for Soldiers. Excuse me. John, let's go to a break. I got something in my throat. We are going to take a break. You're listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Angle and Rick Trader coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network, WNJC 1360 in Philly, around the world on the internet. Sharon and I will be right back with our first guest, Judy Travis.
They say I'm crazy, I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm messy, but
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos radio network. We are establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired of the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos radio network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 on your AM dial, or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our website, ccrsnetwork.com, for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where now even more newsmakers go to be heard.
Hi, this is Bob Viden, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
This holiday season, help Soldiers for Stockings improve the morale and welfare of members of our armed forces deployed overseas. Now through November 20th, there is so much work to be done, and you can help in many ways. Download the stocking pattern from stockingsforsoldiers.org and start sewing today. Volunteer to help decorate and assemble stockings. Donate Christmas candies, snacks, nuts, chips, drink mixes, DVDs, books, magazines, lip balm, toiletries, and other items needed to fill the stockings. Or help make packets of snowman soup, hot chocolate, to send along with the stockings. For more information, patterns, and a list of items needed, visit stockingsforsoldiers.org. This holiday season, help send our troops a touch of home. For many, it's all they will receive. All stockings need to be completed by November 20th. So get started today at stockingsforsoldiers.org. That's stockingsforsoldiers.org. Stockings for Soldiers, sending stockings filled with joy to our soldiers in harm's way for the 9th consecutive year.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
Back to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Engel and Rick Trader. And before we bring our next guest on, just the latest update on this mass shooting in San Bernardino, California. Reports 20 people are injured, 12 reported dead. We'll keep you posted as we can. Last night, ladies and gentlemen, I had a really neat experience. I went over to Wilmington, Delaware. You know, we've been talking about Stockings for Soldiers for the last month and a half here on the Conservative Commandos radio show. I had an opportunity to go over there and participate and help put together stockings. And our guest is Judy Travis. She's the founder of Stockings for Soldiers. It's a volunteer organization that sends Christmas stockings and care packages to our soldiers around the world. Judy Travis, welcome back to Conservative Commandos radio show.
Thank you so much, Rick. I so appreciate it. It was great to meet you and Mary last night.
Oh, it was, you know, Judy, I got to tell you, I was overwhelmed when I went in there and saw all the activity. There had to be over 100 people there, all volunteers, putting together these holiday Christmas packages for our servicemen and women overseas. We've been talking up Stockings for Soldiers here on the Conservative Commandos radio network for the last 6-8 weeks or better, and it was just so much fun to go over there and get hands-on and participate and help to put together the stockings. I admire you, Judy, for what you have put together. This is your 12th year. Please tell our audience a little bit about Stockings for Soldiers.
Thank you so much. We started very small in my house. When my son returned from his deployment, he was in Baghdad for 15 months in 2003 to 2004. And he said he was really surprised that a lot of people in his platoon company never received anything from home. And I thought, well, that's a simple thing that I could do. So I went around, I printed my son's address, I gave it to everybody that I knew, and I said, next time you're shopping, buy a little extra stuff and just put it in a box and mail it to care of my son. And then he shared it with all of his troops. And the happiness, he said, that their eyes would light up when, they would get something here and, help yourself. And it was such a great feeling. Here, these kids are on the front line, so maybe we can do a little something in the back, just to make sure that they are, they know the people in America are thinking about them. So that's how the project started. And when he came home safe and sound, I thought, oh, good, I was done, And then I realized, no, that the parents who were sending their kids off to replace the unit that my son was in, they now started their year of anguish. And I just thought it was nice if the parents knew that there were other people in America who were thinking about their kids. And that's how the project started. So now I'm seeing what's happening is people are deriving such pleasure and contentment, and they're so happy to do something to help. People are saying thank you to me, when of course I'm saying thank you to them. So the volunteers get so much out of it. Senior citizens, a woman 94 years old wrote a thank you note and said, thank you for letting me feel that at 94 years old I can still make a contribution to my community. Isn't that amazing?
It is. And Judy, what I thought was amazing, as I said, there were over 100 volunteers there last night putting these stockings together. Right. The large majority of them being high school and college kids. I thought that was so exciting. There was one little boy who said something to his mother about he needed to get home to do his homework. And I said to his mother, this is homework. I mean, this is the best kind of homework he could have to help to put together these stockings for these men and women overseas. Also met a young man there last night who is home now, but in the past was a recipient of one of your stockings, and now he was helping to put together. What a great organization. What a great group of people.
Such a compliment. That's our gift. We all do this at no charge. No one takes a salary. Everybody's volunteers, and most people have daytime jobs, and so we only work in the evenings. And that is such a compliment when one of our soldiers or sailors or airmen or Marines come back and thank everybody for doing this because they received one and they know the feeling of getting something from home, and that is such a compliment. So we've got little kids, as you said, and high school kids. They're getting community service hours. Yep. They're happy to be there.
Yep.
This one little kid walked around the other night and goes, asked his mother, is this Santa's workshop?
That's terrific.
It was really cute.
That is terrific.
So without the help of volunteers, we wouldn't be able to get anything done. So we are so grateful for everybody that comes out, and thank you so much for coming over and seeing what we do. It's hard to describe it.
It is.
Because we're all pretty modest, and we just want everyone to know that we appreciate everyone's help. But that place is a fine-tuned...
yes, it is. And it's...
call it controlled chaos.
And I know you have a lot of great people that help you, Judy, but I think it's all a tribute to you. And, Judy, we have people that contact the radio show wanting us to get behind them, to run PSAs, other nonprofit organizations. In fact, just last week, there was one that contacted me and said, look, 90% of all our money goes into to achieving our goals and missions. But when I checked into it, the CEO itself was making a salary of $150,000.
Oh, that's dreadful.
And when I compare that to your organization, Stockings for Soldiers, where everything is 100% volunteer, no one makes an income, no one makes a salary out of this. Every dime goes into achieving the mission of making sure that our men and women in uniform overseas has a Christmas, has a holiday. What a wonderful thing. I was so moved, Judy. As you know, I opened my wallet
Yes, you did. You were
And after the moths flew out, Judy, I'm not a person who throws money around, but really, I got to commend you. Stockings for Soldiers is such a great organization.
Thank you so much. I'd like to mention to your audience also, we've run into a little bit of a problem this year where a lot of the people in Iraq, Afghanistan, other ports are very, very busy, and they haven't always gotten back to me with the information that I need. And, of course, we're going to be done in another day or two.
Mm-hmm.
So I received a lot of requests for troops who are in South Korea.
Mm-hmm.
And we said okay because we wanted to, to make sure they know that they've not been forgotten, but they actually have so much stuff because there's restaurants and, fast food restaurants everywhere. But anyway, the cost of a box is over triple to send it to Korea.
I saw one box there, Judy, you showed me that was going to Korea, had like 10 or 15 stockings in it. The price for that was $80 to send that to Korea.
And to go to Afghanistan, it's $25.
Wow.
So, but, we said yes to the troops. We didn't want to say, no, we can't afford it because, the postage. But anyway, if any of your listeners would like to help, we'd be so grateful if they'd like to go to our website and go to our donation page. And our donation page is hosted by the westpoint.org organization. So we are so proud to be affiliated with them. And you can make a donation to our stocking project. And the fee that we pay, when you put something on a credit card, the fee that we pay goes to the westpoint.org organization.
Wow.
So we try to help them a little bit while they're so wonderful to help us.
Wow.
So our website is www.stockingsforsoldiers.org. And if anyone would like to do that, we'd be so grateful. Help us with that postage. Last year we spent over $30,000 on postage, and the year before was also that high. And this year it's easily going to be that high with less stockings.
Right. Well, I know as of last night, there were 7,006 stockings put together, packaged, and ready to go to our men and women overseas. And, yesterday, Judy, was what they call Giving Tuesday, where people were encouraged to make a donation to a nonprofit organization. And I'm asking our listeners today, I know this is Wednesday, let's call it Giving Wednesday. Let's call it Giving Wednesday for our men and women overseas. Giving Wednesday for stockingsforsoldiers.org. Go to that website, please. Make a donation. And you'll feel good. I feel good. I am so glad, Judy, we went over there last night. I wouldn't have missed it for the world.
Oh, good. Thank you. We were very, very grateful that you would come out of your busy day, and we thank you so much.
My busy day, when you think about my busy day, my day compared to what our men and women overseas are going through, I mean, it's nothing. My day is nothing compared to what they do, what they go through, what they mean to us, what they are doing for us.
Well, that's exactly right. And, less than 1% of our population feels the need to join the military to protect our country. What has happened? We have members of Congress who have not served. We have a president who's not served. Just terrible that somehow this has turned around. And we need to show our appreciation for our history and for our all of the people who have suffered and sacrificed so that we could have all that we have now. And I think more people need to go into the military. And, of course, the world needs to be a safer place. That's a different issue.
Right.
But I would hope that we have to make sure our military know that we're thinking of them and they've not been forgotten and they're not ignored and bypassed.
Again, audience, please, go to your computer right now. Log on to stockingsforsoldiers.org, stockingsforsoldiers.org. Make a donation. I guarantee you every dime of that donation is going to go not into somebody's pocket, but to send Christmas gifts, holiday gifts to our men and women overseas. Judy Travis, again, you are a patriot. You are an American patriot. And I was, as I said, I was blown away. I was overwhelmed by the organization, a volunteer organization that you put together to achieve this.
Well, thank you so much. We're honored that you both came by last night, and thank you for spreading our message. And I hope some of your listeners might be able to join us next year.
Oh, I hope so. We'll be back.
Right.
Mary and I are going to be back. We had such a great time.
Well, next year will be our lucky 13th year, and we're going to keep going. As long as our troops are there, we'll be here to support them.
Judy Travis, stockingsforsoldiers.com or stockingsforsoldiers.org. I want to thank you so much for joining us, and thank you so much for what you do.
Oh, you're so welcome, and it was a pleasure to meet you, and we do it because we love our troops.
Amen.
Thank you very, very much.
Amen to that. And like I said, you are a patriot.
Thank you. God bless. Take care.
Well, we are going to take a break. You're listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Engel and Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network, WNJC 1360 in Philadelphia, around the world on the internet with CPR Worldwide Media, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, Rebooting Liberty Radio Network, AM, FM 24/7. Don't forget, it's stockingsforsoldiers.org, stockingsforsoldiers.org. Do something for our men and women this Christmas season. Sharon and I will be right back.
You've heard Paul Delks playing the music on the Your Music Matters morning show. He is also an experienced mortgage loan officer working for U.S. Mortgage Corporation and assists homeowners navigate the reverse mortgage process. If you are finding yourself asking questions whether or not you set aside enough for retirement, Paul can sit down with you, your family, and your financial advisor and discuss how a reverse mortgage may be a valuable resource for your retirement plan. You will be responsible for paying your taxes and insurance, and the reverse mortgage can help with this and other expenses, such as home health care or other untimely bills. Put Paul's 20-plus years of experience to work for you, as choosing the right option for your situation can be critical. Call Paul at U.S. Mortgage Corporation at 877-213-9977. That's 877-213-9977. Or go to seniormatters.info for more information. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is a licensed mortgage banker in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware, and an equal housing lender. NMLS number 3901. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is located at 201 Old Country Road, Suite 140, Melville, New York, 11747. This advertisement applies to first lien mortgages. Paul E. Dilks, NMLS is 485904.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Biden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos radio network. we're establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired, as I am, about the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. on WNJC Radio 1360 a.m. or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our websites, ConservativeCommandosRadioNetwork.com and CCRN.com for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where even more newsmakers go to be heard.
This holiday season, help Soldiers for Stockings improve the morale and welfare of members of our armed forces deployed overseas. Now through November 20th, there is so much work to be done, and you can help in many ways. Download the stocking pattern from stockingsforsoldiers.org and start sewing today. Volunteer to help decorate and assemble stockings. Donate Christmas candies, snacks, nuts, chips, drink mixes, DVDs, books, magazines, lip balm, toiletries, and other items needed to fill the stocking. Or help make packets of snowman soup, hot chocolate, to send along with the stockings. For more information, patterns, and a list of items needed, visit stockingsforsoldiers.org. This holiday season, help send our troops a touch of home. For many, it's all they will receive. All stockings need to be completed by November 20th. So get started today at stockingsforsoldiers.org. That's stockingsforsoldiers.org. Stockings for Soldiers, sending stockings filled with joy to our soldiers in harm's way for the 9th consecutive year.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the internet. We're coming to you live from the CCRS studios. WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
Welcome back, listeners, to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Engel and Rick Trader. And if you'd like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show, please check our website, ccrsnetwork.com and ccrshow.com. Or mornings at 9 a.m., you can log on to leadingedgeradionetwork.com, or at 1 p.m., log on to roarradio.net. And at 6 p.m., log on to thepunditpress.com. Or you can listen to Conservative Commandos radio from any phone by calling 832-999-1199. And Rick, we have our first guest with us, and it's my pleasure and honor to introduce John Schmierak, who's a graduate of Yale University and got his Ph.D. in English from Louisiana State University. He worked as press secretary to the Louisiana Governor Mike Foster and has been an alternate delegate to the Republican National Convention. He's written or co-written 7 books, the most recent, The Race to Save Our Century. He is a senior editor at thestorm.org. John, welcome to Conservative Commandos radio show.
Thank you, but it's stream.org. Stream, not storm. Stream.
Stream. Sorry. Yeah. Let's do that again.
Storm will probably take you someplace unpleasant.
Thestream.org. Thestream.org. We'll let you say that again several times during the program.
Thank you.
So our listeners will get it in their mind that that's where they want to go to get your great articles, John Schmierak. And one article that we found that we were especially interested in is why pro-lifers oppose violence against abortion clinics. Now, every time there is violence against an abortion clinic, it's blamed on a pro-lifer. Isn't that true, John? I mean, that's just the instantaneous reaction of the media, and really they have programmed most Americans to think that if there's an assault on an abortion clinic, it must be some pro-lifer that did it.
Right. It kind of reminds me of what the slave owners used to do in the South. Every time there was some kind of dispute on a plantation, and maybe if one of the black slaves fought back when he was being beaten by his master, the slave owners would warn that this is going to lead to a slave revolt. This is going to lead to something like Haiti, where the blacks rise up and massacre the whites. And in fact, the slave owners used the fear of a slave revolt to make it illegal in most of the South even to call for the abolition of slavery. It was illegal to have an abolitionist newspaper. It was illegal for preachers to have abolitionist churches. They were putting ministers into prison for preaching that slavery was wrong according to Christian ethics. And it created a kind of almost totalitarian state in that sense. There was no freedom of speech in the South on the issue of slavery. And the pretext was always that if you talk about slavery being wrong, it will lead to violence. It will lead to a revolt. It will lead to a civil war. Well, that's the same tactic that the new moral criminals of America, the pro-choicers, are using. They're following the playbook of the antebellum slave owners, and they're saying that if we talk about the reality of abortion, that it is, by every medical definition, the killing of human beings, and by every moral definition, the unjustified killing of human beings, which makes it murder, if you say that, unbalanced people are going to draw the conclusion that they should become vigilante terrorists and shoot up abortion clinics. So what I wanted to do, what I addressed in the article was the fact you can make two mistakes from this. Some pro-choicers say, well, clearly you people don't really believe that this is murder, because if you thought America was killing 1 million people a year, for real, if you really believe that fetuses are people, you would favor terrorist violence against the clinics. And I also wanted to counteract the idea that there is any justification for violence against the clinics. Why is it that we believe at the same time that this is a mass killing of 1 million people a year, and why don't we support a terrorist movement to stop it? And what I explain in the article is, if let's say you see your neighbor strangling his daughter, okay? That's against the law. You know it's wrong. If there are no police around, you would intervene and you would use force to try to stop him, and that would be the right thing to do. Why is that not right with an abortion clinic? Well, here's the reason. It is legal to have an abortion, unfortunately. If you try to stop someone from doing it by force, the police will get involved. It will take his side. And if you use force against the police, you are declaring civil war. To use violent force against the government to counteract its laws is to commit an act of civil war. That is a very grave and serious thing that has enormous repercussions, as we saw in Colorado, to the tragic death of the police officer and the other innocent civilian. Civil war is something you don't enter into lightly. Remember that the abolitionists in America did not advocate a civil war to free the slaves. They wanted to change the law. It was the slave owners who started a civil war in order to keep slavery in existence. There were very few abolitionists who used force. John Brown and a few of his followers, I mean, they became famous because it was so rare. So why were the abolitionists not in favor of provoking the slaves in the South to rebel and starting a civil war? Because they saw that the consequences of that would be even worse than the consequences of slavery. As Christians, we follow something called the just war doctrine, where you use military force, whether war, revolution, or civil war. It has to be the absolute last resort. You have to have exhausted every possible nonviolent way of resolving a problem. Well, in America, it's still legal for the moment to say that abortion is wrong. We have one political party committed to changing it. We have leading presidential candidates calling abortion what it is, mass murder of babies. So it's clear that the nonviolent ways of working this problem out have not yet been exhausted. So right there, it would not be justified to do vigilante violence and start a civil war on the issue of abortion. But there are other conditions you have to meet before a war is justified for Christians. It has to be a legitimate cause. Well, saving babies would be a legitimate cause. But it also has to have a decent chance of succeeding. It's completely unclear whether such a civil war would succeed. And finally, the evils that you produce, the killing and suffering that you produce in fighting the war, can't outweigh the evil you're trying to stop. And it's completely unclear that a civil war in America over the issue of abortion, it might kill more people than abortion does. It would devastate the country. It would be a completely tragic and appalling event. And all these reasons are why pro-lifers do not favor vigilante violence or the kind of armed rebellion against the government on the issue of abortion.
We're talking with John Schmierak about his article on exactly that, which is why pro-lifers oppose violence against abortion clinics. John, we're going to have to take a short break, about 2 minutes. Can you stay with us through the break? Because we'd like to ask you some questions about the article that you wrote. Thank you so much. We will be back with our guest, John Schmierak, after this break. We're coming to you live from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios, WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, and around the world on the Internet with CPR Worldwide Media, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, Rebooting Liberty Radio Network, and AMFM247.com, all of them.com. We'll be right back after this short break with Sharon Engel, Rick Trader, and our guest, John Schmierak.
They say I'm crazy. I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm messy, but
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We are establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired of the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 on your AM dial, or around the world on the Internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our website, CCRSnetwork.com, for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where now even more newsmakers go to be heard.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Biden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the Internet, we're coming to you live from the CCRS studios, WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with Sharon Engel and Rick Trader. And just to give you the latest update in this shooting in San Bernardino, California, as many as a dozen people were reportedly killed Wednesday at a San Bernardino, California facility for treating developmentally disabled, and police were hunting 3 suspects who may have escaped in an SUV. John Schmernack, here we go again, another shooting.
Yeah, my first thought was, oh, please, God, don't let it have anything to do with abortion, and it doesn't sound like it does.
No, it doesn't. John, you talked earlier about the pro-choicers, and my feeling is, and you correct me if I'm wrong, trying to think too much outside the box, I think these people actually use these type of shootings to demonize their opponents to shut them up. In other words, their theory is never let a crisis go to waste.
That's right. There's the unbelievable cynicism of liberals who, when radical Muslims quoting the Quran and waving the Quran kill Muslims and kill Christians and Jews in Paris, that has nothing to do with Islam. But when a raving lunatic who is a peeping Tom who shoots his neighbor's dogs and believes that the government can read his thoughts through the ceiling of his house, when he shoots people near a clinic, doesn't hit any of the doctors, any of the patients, and maybe muttered something about a clinic to some anonymous police officer. We don't have the transcript. We have no proof he even said it. Suddenly, the Southern Baptist Convention and the Roman Catholic Church and the pro-life movement and Ted Cruz all have to take responsibility for what this lone psychopath did. Remember the Unabomber?
Yeah.
Unabomber was spouting liberal environmentalist rhetoric that sounded like Al Gore. Nobody blamed Al Gore for the Unabomber.
Well, John, usually when these types of shootings happen, it's, in my opinion, it's usually a liberal or somebody who has severe mental problems.
Well, yeah, clearly. I mean, there are occasional ideological terrorists. Timothy McVeigh, I don't think was mentally ill. I think he was. He might have had post-traumatic stress disorder from the Gulf War, but he did commit an act of political terrorism based on what you could call right-wing ideas. This happened back in 1993. It's a very rare thing. On the other hand, Family Research Council, I believe, was somebody was shot and killed by a left-wing pro-choice terrorist who left a detailed, coherent manifesto saying that he was doing this because he supported abortion and gay marriage, and Family Research Council was against it. You didn't see a media frenzy over that.
Well, I think the interesting thing is that how quickly they come at us with this stuff. As you said, Twitter was filled with politicized sneers about white Christian terrorists. They just jumped to that scenario. And tell us a little bit about the perpetrator. He wasn't necessarily a white Christian terrorist, was he?
He was just a random lunatic. He had no agenda. This is somebody who literally was telling his neighbors that they needed to line the ceilings of their houses with metal in order to keep the government from reading their thoughts. I refuse to try to parse the political beliefs of someone who is apparently a paranoid schizophrenic. I mean, this man, it's a tragedy that he didn't get treatment sooner. If anything, this is raising questions about our mental health system and the way liberals deinstitutionalize hundreds of thousands of mental patients, many of whom are now homeless. I think we allow far too many people who are off their meds to roam the streets in America in the name of supposed civil liberties. And that's why you get people like this getting access to guns and attacking random people because the voices in their head told them to. It's tragic for the victim. It's also tragic for the killer who, may not be responsible for his actions because he's completely out of his mind.
And you point out a very interesting anomaly, I guess. It's an irony, really. We can't talk about mental illness as mental illness. We have a politically correct gag put on us, but the liberals do seem to be able to call anyone they like a terrorist and especially poke their finger in the eye of Christians. It seems like a real double standard, if you will.
Well, we should not be surprised that people behave cynically when those people defend babies being killed and mutilated and their body parts being sold for profit. Somebody who would support that would lie in order to protect it. So nothing surprises me about the cynicism of pro-choice liberals in America. They are defending genocide. It doesn't shock me that they're willing to lie to do it.
I was real interested at the end of your article. You have a conversation between Margaret, the pro-choicer, and I really like to say they're pro-abortionists. They, we kind of let them off the hook by saying they're pro-choice. That's not a good choice, really. There's lots of choices. That isn't the good one. And really what they've done is made a convenient decision to kill another person is what they've done. But be that as it may, my little editorial there, but Margaret is that person. And then Susan, who is the pro-life person. And would you kind of describe what went into that? Because I think that you really are trying to give us a way to dialogue with people who disagree with us about the abortion issue.
Yeah, I'm trying to lay out the typical arguments made by pro-choicers. And I tried to do a fair job of using their talking points. And I drew a lot of what I said from what the pro-choicers are saying on Twitter. And I just kind of turned that into a digest and had a dialogue between a typical pro-choicer and a smart, philosophically informed pro-lifer, explaining that we are like the abolitionists. We are trying to use the law. We want to expand the protection of law to the most vulnerable people in America, the unborn. We do want to use force to stop abortion, the force of the police and the judicial system and the prison system. That is the force we are willing to use to stop abortion. We're willing to vote, we're willing to write letters to congressmen, we're willing to lobby and picket in the street. Those are all attempts to get control of the government and its use of force, legitimate, just force to protect the innocent. That is what we are willing to do. The other side, I really believe that the pro-choicers, like the pro-slavery people, if a civil war ever started in America over the issue of abortion, it would be started by the pro-choicers because they are vicious. We know they're involved in violence. They kill 1 million people a year. They're the ones with the track record of violence. We're not. And by trying to paint us as violent, I think it's an example of psychological projection, where you see your own vices and you put them onto somebody else because it makes you feel better.
And unfortunately, we're going to have to leave you right there, John Smirak. But I want you to tell our listeners where they can get this article, because I think this conversation will give them the conversation that they need to have the next time they're confronted by one of these. And we get confronted by these pro-choice abortionists all the time, and we really do need to know what to say back.
Go to Stream.
Where to find your article.
Go to stream.org. Yes, stream.org. stream.org.
And that's John Smirak's article, and that Smirak is spelled Z-M-I-R-A-K. Is that correct, John?
Yes, it is. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We're so glad that you were a part of our show today.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
And we're coming to you live from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios, WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, and around the world on the Internet with CPR Worldwide Media, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, Rebooting Liberty Radio Network, and AM/FM 24/7, all.com, that you can go and listen to Conservative Commandos Radio Show. We'll be right back after this break with Sharon Engel, Rick Trader, and our next guest.
I'm crazy. I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but
You've heard Paul Deltz playing the music on the Your Music Matters morning show. He is also an experienced mortgage loan officer working for U.S. Mortgage Corporation and assists homeowners navigate the reverse mortgage process. If you are finding yourself asking questions whether or not you set aside enough for retirement, Paul can sit down with you, your family, and your financial advisor and discuss how a reverse mortgage may be a valuable resource for your retirement plan. You will be responsible for paying your taxes and insurance, and the reverse mortgage can help with this and other expenses, such as home health care or other untimely bills. Put Paul's 20-plus plus years of experience to work for you, as choosing the right option for your situation can be critical. Call Paul at U.S. Mortgage Corporation at 877-213-9977. That's 877-213-9977. Or go to seniormatters.info for more information. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is a licensed mortgage banker in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware, and an equal housing lender. NMLS number 3901. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is located at 201 Old Country Road, Suite 140, Melville, New York, 11747. This advertisement applies to first lien mortgages. Paul E. Dilks, NMLS is 485904.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night at Concord Bridge in Trenton. For freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Biden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We're establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired as I am about the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. on WNJC Radio 1360 a.m. or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our websites, ConservativeCommandosRadioNetwork.com and CCRN.com for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where even more newsmakers go to be heard.
This holiday season, help Soldiers for Stockings improve the morale and welfare of members of our armed forces deployed overseas. Now through November 20th, there is so much work to be done, and you can help in many ways. Download the stocking pattern from stockingsforsoldiers.org and start sewing today. Volunteer to help decorate and assemble stockings. Donate Christmas candies, snacks, nuts, chips, drink mixes, DVDs, books, magazines, lip balm, toiletries, and other items needed to fill the stockings. Or help make packets of snowman soup, hot chocolate, to send along with the stockings. For more information, patterns, and a list of items needed, visit stockingsforsoldiers.org. This holiday season, help send our troops a touch of home. For many, it's all they will receive. All stockings need to be completed by November 20th. So get started today at stockingsforsoldiers.org. That's stockingsforsoldiers.org. Stockings for Soldiers, sending stockings filled with joy to our soldiers in harm's way for the 9th consecutive year.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the internet. We're coming to you live from the CCRS studios. WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
Welcome back, listeners. You are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Engel and Rick Trader. And if you'd like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show, please check out our website, ccrsnetwork.com and ccrshow.com. Or mornings at 9 a.m., you can log on to leadingedgeradionetwork.com. At 1 p.m., log on to rawradio.net. And at 6 p.m., log on to punditpress.com. Now you can listen to the Conservative Commandos radio from any phone by calling 832-999-1199. And Rick, our next guest is ready, and it's my honor and privilege to introduce E.W. Jackson, who's the founder and senior pastor at The Called Church, founder of the Chesapeake Martin Luther King Leadership Breakfast, and founder and president of STAND Foundation, Staying True to Americans' National Destiny, a nonprofit organization committed to bringing citizens together across racial and cultural lines to restore American Judeo-Christian heritage and values. He is the national president of Ministers Taking a Stand, a national organization of pastors and Christian leaders addressing the moral and spiritual issues of our time. He also founded Youth with a Destiny, helping give youth a sense of vision and purpose for their lives. And he's the author of the book, 10 Commandments to an Extraordinary Life. His articles have been published in Washington Times, American Thinker, and many other publications. He's also appeared on Fox, ABC, PBS, CNN, and MSNBC. Bishop Jackson, welcome to Conservative Commandos Radio.
Well, thank you so much for having me and for that very warm introduction. Appreciate that.
Well, it's our honor and pleasure to have you here with us, Bishop Jackson. And we read your article, Why Donald Trump Must Not Be the First Choice of Black Ministers. Now, I thought that was a foregone conclusion that he was going to have all the ministers in his camp. So why wouldn't black ministers especially want to have him as their first choice?
Well, I'd say in the same way that a group of doctors are certainly going to look at the health care policies of a potential president, a group of businessmen are going to look at his business policies, ministers ought to look at the spiritual and moral attitude and ideas of a candidate. And as Christian ministers of the gospel of Jesus Christ, in my view, given what we've experienced the last 7 years, which is a president who claims to be a Christian but has never lost an opportunity to insult, demean, attack Christianity, accuse Christians of being the equivalent of terrorists because, after all, we had the Crusades, say we're not a Christian country. We need somebody who is sensitive to, understands, and indeed, I would rather have somebody who is part of the Christian community and will reflect our values and protect our First Amendment rights. I don't think Donald Trump is that guy.
And I find that a very interesting comment because I agree with you on that point. When I looked at the Christian credentials, if you will, of the 17 candidates at the time when I was looking through them, I found some that had better credentials than others as far as their faith-based feelings and actually the way that their actions, which, as you know and I know, it's not just being hearers of the word, but being doers of the word as well. But I did have an interesting encounter here in Nevada. Donald Trump came to Las Vegas and got a group of ministers together to pray for him, and out of that came a feeling by those ministers that this might be Cyrus, although he's not as faithful as they would like him to be. They felt like he would be like King Cyrus, one who would allow the Christians to rebuild this nation. What do you think about that, Bishop Jackson?
Well, look, I think it's an interesting theory, and I think if you're talking about Donald Trump versus Hillary Clinton, clearly Hillary Clinton is no Deborah. Who knows? Yeah, maybe Donald Trump could be a Cyrus, but we have more people in the race. And we do have people in the race who are openly and clearly expressing faith in the Lordship of Jesus Christ. Now, that doesn't mean that, because a person says that we should automatically assume or accept that they're sincere. But the fact that a person is willing to say that, willing to express that in a strong way, means that we can't just say, well, we don't have anybody else to turn to, so we'll turn to Cyrus. I mean, I don't have any doubt that if the Jews had had a leader who they thought could rescue them, Cyrus would not have been their choice. But under the circumstances, God provided someone in a situation where they didn't really have much to look to because they were in captivity, so provided someone who would look out for the Jewish people. I hope we're not at that point in our country yet. So I'm looking at the candidates who express clear and unequivocal faith in the Lordship of Jesus Christ.
And down through your article, you discuss a question that he was asked. They asked him what his favorite scripture was. Now, I know most of us who have lived with the Lord very long at all, we all have a favorite verse or a life verse, something that just keeps coming back. I know mine is Romans 8:28. All things work together for good for those who love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. And I know that you probably have one too as well, Bishop Jackson. And
oh, yes.
I know that you are probably as ready as I am.
I have many scriptures, so yes.
And you'd probably be ready to quote yours as well, but...
Oh, yeah, I mean, I love the one you just quoted. I love John 15:7. If you abide in me and my word abides in you, you shall ask what you desire shall be done for you. As this is my Father glorified, that you bear much fruit, so shall you be my disciples. I mean, right, if you're familiar with the word, coming up with a scripture that has really touched your heart and meant a lot to you is not going to be something that you claim is a private matter.
In fact, Christians aren't supposed to be private about their faith, are they, Bishop Jackson?
That's exactly right. We're supposed to proclaim it from the rooftops. We're supposed to go into all the world. So, look, I think everybody interpreted that properly, or at least evangelicals did. We interpreted that as he simply didn't have a favorite scripture. He's not familiar enough with the Bible. And so, look, how can you have the wisdom of God if you are not intimate with, knowledgeable about the Word of God? You can't.
Well, and that's exactly right. And as you point out, Christians understand that we're supposed to be proclaiming. And in fact, if we deny the Lord, he said he would deny us. And so we have a very strong edict not to hide our light under the bushel, but to proclaim it out there.
And by the way, I'm not picking on Donald Trump, because as I recall, Bush Sr. said something very similar. When asked about his faith, he said, well, I'm not really comfortable talking about it. You know, I forget what denomination he mentioned, but, you know, we always keep that as a private matter. I was not impressed by that either. So I'm not picking on Mr. Trump, but I think that ministers of the gospel ought to be looking for someone who we really believe is being called by God to this office.
I think it's more important now than ever, don't you, Bishop Jackson? I feel like some of the other things that you referenced in your article talk about the true persecution of the Christian faith in this country and why we need a president that would stand strong and support us.
And sure, and not only has Christianity obviously been persecuted. I mean, this is the most anti-Christian president I have ever seen in my life. And there are Christians who there are presidents who I wouldn't even identify as Christians, but they weren't hostile to the faith. This president seems to have a hostility to the faith, and particularly to biblical teaching. And so he has sued Christians. He has refused to allow Christians exceptions for their conscience objections to participation in same-sex ceremonies and this sort of thing. I mean, he has been utterly a disaster for the Christian community. So we need someone who is not only going to help us, but help the culture to come back to its traditional, foundational principles. Marriage being a union between one man and one woman. faith in God, the ability and the right to pray under any circumstances. Someone who's going to fight for the things that made America America. Without those things, we would not have become the greatest nation on earth. And anybody who is trying to undermine those things, in my view, is trying to destroy the greatness of our country.
And we have to take a short break, about 2 minutes. Can you stay with us through the break, Bishop Jackson?
Happy to. Thank you.
We'd love to have you stay through, because I want to ask you questions on the other side about who cares if we're a Christian nation or not. What difference does it really make? And I know that you have the answer to that, and I know that Rick Trader has some questions as well. So we would like to remind our audience that we're coming to you live from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios, WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, and around the world on the internet with the CPR Worldwide Media, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, Rebooting Liberty Radio Network, and AM FM 24/7, all.com. We'll be right back after this brief break with Sharon Engel, Rick Trader, and our guest, Bishop Jackson, talking about Donald Trump and why black ministers shouldn't make him their first choice.
They say I'm nasty, but
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We are establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired of the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 on your AM dial, or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our website, CCRSnetwork.com, for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where now even more newsmakers go to be heard.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Biden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
This holiday season, help Soldiers for Stockings improve the morale and welfare of members of our armed forces deployed overseas. Now through November 20th, there is so much work to be done, and you can help in many ways. Download the stocking pattern from stockingsforsoldiers.org and start sewing today. Volunteer to help decorate and assemble stockings. Donate Christmas candies, snacks, nuts, chips, drink mixes, DVDs, books, magazines, lip balm, toiletries, and other items needed to fill the stockings. Or help make packets of snowman soup, hot chocolate, to send along with the stockings. For more information, patterns, and a list of items needed, visit stockingsforsoldiers.org. This holiday season, help send our troops a touch of home. For many, it's all they will receive. All stockings need to be completed by November 20th. So get started today at stockingsforsoldiers.org. That's stockingsforsoldiers.org. Stockings for Soldiers, sending stockings filled with joy to our soldiers in harm's way for the 9th consecutive year.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Angle and yours truly, Rick Trader. And for rebroadcasts of our shows, check out our websites, ccrshow.com or ccrsnetwork.com. Or mornings at 9 a.m., log on to the Leading Edge Radio Network. At 1 p.m., roarradio.net, or at 6 p.m., you could hear rebroadcast by logging on to thepunditpress.com. You could also hear our show from your telephone by calling 832-999-1199. And our guest this segment is Bishop E.W. Jackson. Bishop Jackson, thanks for holding through that break. We appreciate your time.
Happy to be with you.
Bishop Jackson, I've seen pictures of Donald Trump at rallies holding a Bible almost as if it's a prop. Wanted to get your reaction to that.
Well, you know, we saw Bill Clinton do the same thing, and we know that what we really need is somebody who's hidden God's word in his heart so that he might not sin against him, not held it up for our eyes so that we might vote for him. So I'm not moved at all by that.
Do you think anybody should be moved by using the Bible as a prop? I mean, you and Sharon were talking about this earlier. He couldn't quote the Bible. He said that's a personal thing. I don't know.
No, look, I think we've got to be looking deeper than that. You know, Jesus said, judge not by appearance, but judge with righteous judgment. So I don't see any indication in Donald Trump that he is a godly man or a man of God, and that's what I'm looking for first and foremost. If it comes down to him and Hillary Clinton, that's a different matter. But right now, I'm evaluating the field we've got, and I don't see Donald Trump at the top of it.
Bishop Jackson, you know, let's talk about Hillary Clinton for a minute, or Bernie Sanders, or O'Malley, whoever might be the potential Democrat nominee. If Donald Trump is the Republican nominee, do you see the evangelicals sitting out this election? Because the alternative is, in my opinion, far worse than Donald Trump.
Well, it absolutely is. I mean, it is my earnest hope that Donald Trump, frankly, does not win the nomination, because I think that there is a danger that if he wins it, there will be many evangelicals who, and by the way, I don't agree with this. I've urged people not to do this, but there will be evangelicals who, as a matter of conscience, will say they can't vote for Donald Trump.
As they did in the last election, 50% of them sat home.
I think the number's about 33 million or so who did not go out to vote because they couldn't vote for Mitt Romney. Now, I voted for Mitt Romney because I knew that even though I had some problems with Mitt Romney, that he would be worlds better than this president that we've now got, who, in my view, is extremely destructive. And we're seeing the results of it every single day. So I think, you know, we in an imperfect world, we've got to take the very best choice that we've got. And I think Donald Trump would be far, far better than Hillary Clinton.
Here on the Conservative Commandos radio show, we are speaking with Bishop E.W. Jackson. Bishop Jackson, when I heard you talking with Sharon in the first part of the interview about Barack Obama, do you really believe that this man is even a Christian?
No, and in fact, you know, I ran for lieutenant governor of Virginia in 2013, and one of the things that the press jumped on me about was the fact that I'd said during an interview that I thought that the idea that Barack Obama is a Christian was laughable. Well, now it's not laughable. It's sad because he clearly is not. And let me just give you another instance. I mean, the evidence just continues to mount up. But when it was suggested that we're not helping Christian Syrian refugees, seem to only be helping Muslim Syrian refugees, or only interested in helping them, he turned that into a sneering rebuke. Oh, so now we're going to have a religious test. We're only supposed to bring Christians in. I mean, it wasn't those weren't the words of a Christian. They were the words of someone looking down on Christianity, as if to say it has no special claim on us. And so, no, the president may believe he's a Christian, but based on the biblical definition, which is by their fruit shall you know them, I don't see any and more indication that he's a Christian than I do that Donald Trump has really put his faith in Jesus Christ. In fact, I might even see less.
Bishop Jackson, let me ask you a tough question. Are you going to endorse one of these candidates that are running? And if so, who would that be?
Yeah, that is a tough question.
Yes.
Because if I tell you who it is, then I'm endorsing that person now.
Yes.
The answer to the first part of your question is yes, I am definitely going to endorse a candidate. I've made a decision about that. I'm not prepared to announce who that candidate is as yet because I'm going to do that in a special way. But I believe that there is a candidate in the race who really loves God, who loves this country, who knows our Constitution backwards and forwards, and is a fighter who's going to really stand up for our religious liberty and stand up for this country as I believe the founders intended. And yes, I'm going to proudly endorse that person at the appropriate time.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, and I'm also glad to hear you reference the founders because I want you to tell us why it's important and why it was important to the founders that we have a Christian foundation. And do we have a Christian foundation? I know that seems to be up for grabs here in these last few decades. Politicians seem to deny that we have Christian roots. How do you feel about that, Bishop? And tell us why we need to get back to those roots.
Well, the president went to Cairo, as I'm sure you all recall, and your listeners will recall, went to Cairo and said, declared that we are not a Christian nation, if we ever were, as I recall him saying. But the fact of the matter is, people who say that are ignorant of the history or they are in denial about it. From the time the Pilgrims arrived here on the Mayflower, earlier than that even, the documents indicate that they saw themselves as setting up a society that would reflect the kingdom of God, and they saw themselves as pioneers to spread the gospel of Jesus Christ. That's our root. That's who we are. So anybody who wants to deny that is just denying the facts. So the only question now is, are we going to deny our true identity and embrace a new identity, or are we going to hold fast to the identity in which this nation was birthed and frankly, the blessings that came with it, which is that we were all putting our faith in God, because George Washington and our founding fathers said on many, many occasions that we have been blessed by Almighty God, by providence, by the Bible. And so I don't see any reason whatsoever to accept this reinvention and revision of our history to try to deny the very foundations that made us the greatest nation on earth. You know, there's an old saying that I've heard in old Southern churches, which is, don't forget the bridge that brought you over. The bridge that brought us over is faith in God through our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. That's a fact.
That's a fact, and I'm so proud of you for stating that fact here on Conservative Commando's radio show. Unfortunately, we're at the end of our time with you, Bishop Jackson, but I would like our listeners to be able to follow your writings and especially read this article that you've written. How can we do that?
They should go to our website at standamerica.us. It's just like it sounds, standamerica.us.
Thank you so much again for being our guest here on Conservative Commando's
Thank
radio
you both
show.
for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, it's been a good talk that we've had with the bishop, but now we need to go to a break. And if you would like to hear a rebroadcast of our today's show, please check out our website, ccrsnetwork.com, ccrshow.com, or mornings at 9 a.m. log on to leadingedgeradionetwork.com. At 1 p.m., log on to rawradio.net, and at 6 p.m., log on to thepunditpress.com. And now you can listen to Conservative Commandos from any phone by calling 832-999-1199. And Rick and I will be right back with our last guest after this break.
I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty.
You've heard Paul Dilts playing the music on the Your Music Matters morning show. He is also an experienced mortgage loan officer working for U.S. Mortgage Corporation and assists homeowners navigate the reverse mortgage process. If you are finding yourself asking questions whether or not you set aside enough for retirement, Paul can sit down with you, your family, and your financial advisor and discuss how a reverse mortgage may be a valuable resource for your retirement plan. You will be responsible for paying your taxes and insurance, and the reverse mortgage can help with this and other expenses, such as home health care or other untimely bills. Put Paul's 20-plus years of experience to work for you, as choosing the right option for your situation can be critical. Call Paul at U.S. Mortgage Corporation at 877-213-9977. That's 877-213-9977. Or go to seniormatters.info for more information. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is a licensed mortgage banker in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware, and an equal housing lender. NMLS number 3901. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is located at 201 Old Country Road, Suite 140, Melville, New York, 11747. This advertisement applies to first lien mortgages. Paul E. Dilks, NMLS is 485904.
Hi, this is Bob Viden, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We're establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired, as I am, about the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. on WNJC Radio 1360 a.m. or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our websites, ConservativeCommandosRadioNetwork.com and CCRN.com for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where even more newsmakers go to be heard.
This holiday season, help Soldiers for Stockings improve the morale and welfare of members of our armed forces deployed overseas. Now through November 20th, there is so much work to be done, and you can help in many ways. Download the stocking pattern from stockingsforsoldiers.org and start sewing today. Volunteer to help decorate and assemble stockings. Donate Christmas candies, snacks, nuts, chips, drink mixes, DVDs, books, magazines, lip balm, toiletries, and other items needed to fill the stocking. Or help make packets of snowman soup, hot chocolate, to send along with the stockings. For more information, patterns, and a list of items needed, visit stockingsforsoldiers.org. This holiday season, help send our troops a touch of home. For many, it's all they will receive. All stockings need to be completed by November 20th. So get started today at stockingsforsoldiers.org. That's stockingsforsoldiers.org. Stockings for Soldiers, sending stockings filled with joy to our soldiers in harm's way for the 9th consecutive year.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the Internet. We're coming to you live from the CCRS studios. WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with Sharon Engel and yours truly, Rick Trader. Before we go to our next guest, I want to give you the latest on what we know about these shootings in San Bernardino, California. Apparently, there are as many as 20 victims. Witnesses told police they saw 3 men with long rifles. Law enforcement sources told CNN that the suspects got back into an SUV and drove away. The bomb squad found a suspicious package in the building and determined it's not normal. They're going to handle it with a robot. There were multiple buildings at this center. It's the Inland Regional Center for a facility for people with developmental disabilities. According to Pam Geller's website, that Riverside Police dispatchers have broadcast a general advisory for the suspects involved in the shootings may have fled in a black GMC Yukon. The broadcast indicated there were unconfirmed reports that the suspects were male and of Middle Eastern origin, armed with AK-47s and body armor. And apparently there was a Christmas party going on when they broke in. Here we go again. Our next guest is Sam Rohrer. He's the president of the American Pastors Network. He served 20 years in the Pennsylvania State Legislature. He is the co-host of his own radio show, Stand in the Gap. It's a program heard on many broadcast stations here around the country. Now, Sam would like to tell you that he got his radio background in college. I would like to tell you it's because he's an alumni of the Conservative Commandos radio show. Sam, welcome back.
Rick, it's always great to be back with you, and really it's a little bit of both, Rick, so I do have to admit that it was a great time with the Commandos radio show, and it was a pleasure being with you and the other co-hosts on the program.
Well, Sam, I miss you, buddy.
Same here, Rick.
I miss you. Sam, we've asked you to join us today to discuss a letter that you wrote to Pennsylvania Governor Tom Wolf, urging him to rethink his position on Syrian refugees in order to keep the Commonwealth safe. Sam, I have a lot of questions about this letter, and you and I can discuss these. Number one, why did you send the letter? What did the letter say? And have you gotten any kind of response from Governor Wolf? And could you talk a little bit about Governor Wolf and his...
Well,
I know it's a lot, Sam, but I just wanted to open the doors and let the cows
well, you can't, Rick. Absolutely. What happened was that here in Pennsylvania, our governor has made it very, very clear that counter to what the majority of governors are doing across the country, he has made public that it's his full intent, and there's every reason to believe that it has already been happening relative to the decision to bring in Syrian refugees into the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what had happened was that there were quite a number of members of the legislature on both House and Senate side that had previously communicated to him about their concerns that these individuals may be brought in and not properly vetted. So they were asking for some clarification from him on that. We felt, as those that were involved in the Pastors Network, that this was something that that really bore down on what we believe to be part of the constitutional and biblical duty toward anybody who's in authority, particularly the civil government, and that is to protect the safety and the lives of the property of the citizens. Mm-hmm. And that what the governor was in fact doing in this time, when it's very clear that these people cannot be vetted, we can talk more about that. We sent a letter, and I sent a letter to him calling upon him in his capacity as governor, reminding him of his constitutional oath, and reminding him that I had been in office for 18 years. I've taken that same oath. I know what it means, and his decision to go forward was perhaps an undercutting of that oath. And then I simply listed out for him a number of questions relative to in his capacity, including I'll just name one as an example. To what degree can you ascertain or affirm that these refugees admitted into Pennsylvania are and not, or do not, in fact, include, in quotes, embedded jihadists, end quote, and that kind of thing. So I basically gave him a series of questions. Answer your question, no, I've not heard back from him. We do know, at least this is what they were saying, that they were hearing from so many people from across the state that their servers were shut down. I don't know whether that's true or it's not. I know it's convenient many times for those in office to say their servers have been shut down when they don't want to take any more information from people. I don't know whether that's true or not, but we've not heard a response back, and as far as I know from talking with other members of the legislature, neither have they heard any direct response back from the governor. But we do understand that there have been quite a number, the number not fully ascertained, have in fact been brought into Pennsylvania, and we're not 100% sure where they've been settled, but that appears to have happened. So that's the short of what you talked about.
Would you repeat that, Sam? Apparently they're already coming into Pennsylvania?
There have been many reports, in fact, that they have been, and really, the fact of the matter is they've been coming in, Rick. I mean, whether they've been from Syria or Iraq, or Sudan, other parts of North Africa. There are thousands. As a matter of fact, I mean, a report just a few days ago indicated that the president has given green cards to over 850,000 Muslims over the past 5 years. Green cards to come into the country. So they're coming in legally, illegally, invited as in given a green card. I really believe that the Syrian piece of the equation is really not the focus of attention as much as it's just a tip of an iceberg, because what they were asking for was his intent was to bring in an additional 10,000. It wasn't to bring in a new 10,000. It was an additional 10,000. So the numbers are far greater, and they've been occurring for some time.
Sam, we need to talk about Muslim refugees. The reports that I have heard is only a very tiny fraction of the people coming in are Christians.
Correct. That's exactly correct. I mean, some of the numbers probably that you've seen as well.
And they're the ones that are actually, from what I see, are being persecuted over there in the Middle East.
And this administration really has refused to help those who are Christians who are being either martyred or persecuted for their faith. There's been a very, very, very clear and undisputed favoritism relative to who in fact is admitted into the country, and the president has highly favored Muslims. As a matter of fact, we reported in our program the other day that there are actually a couple of small Bible colleges which we've been contacted or been a part know of, one in Virginia, one in Indianapolis, in Indiana, that just within the past weeks or so forth, they've had students that have come in from other countries for training here. Their intent was to go back and communicate Christian truth to their people. The administration has gotten wind of that, and they're trying to force the annulment of their ability to be here and to force them out. So this is not a one-sided. I mean, this is a fully one-sided event here, Rick.
Got so many questions, Sam. Is the actions of people like you and me demanding of our governors like Tom Wolf or even Jack Merkel in Delaware who want to bring these people in? A lot of people would say, well, you're not being Christian by wanting to help these people. How would you respond to that?
Well, Rick, we respond to that by saying, and there's a big area of controversy across America within Christian circles, within Catholic circles, within evangelical circles. There's a split, not a 50-50 split, but there is a controversy, and this is where it comes from. There are many who believe and don't understand the difference, if I can say it succinctly, between the responsibility that God has given the church, which is to meet the needs of the poor, to reach out to the widows and the orphans, and the responsibilities that we have as individuals to reach out to our neighbors, to care for our neighbors as we would want them to be cared for, that kind of a thing. That part of the individual duty and the church's duty as compared to government. And this is where the problem is. It's a theological issue, but it's wrapped up in a lot of things. Even the Pope has been talking about, as a Catholic, has been talking about bringing in all of these people. But I know within Catholicism, that's not a shared view. Same thing within evangelical circles. And this is where the distinction comes, Rick. There is a different duty and responsibility, we would call it a jurisdiction, for civil government than for the church. The civil government was never commanded by God to love your enemies. If the civil government was to love your enemies, you would have no military. You would have no concept of defending your own people. Civil government is to carry the sword of justice. Civil government is to protect those who do well, and to protect the property and the lives of their citizens, and to follow and uphold the law of their nation. Here is the Constitution and our statutory law. That's the responsibility of government. Those who say that bringing in the refugees or refusing to bring them in is to deny our Christian faith is really to deny or I guess to establish the fact that they do not understand what the Bible says about these areas of responsibility. That's why when we say government, you are not to be involved in educating our children. Why do we say that? Well, because Scripture gives the responsibility of education to the children. When we say the federal government, you are not to be telling us how we should be living within our own home or raising our children, as an example.
Hey, Sam, I want to bring Sharon...
That's the issue, Rick. That's the issue.
I want to bring Sharon Engel into this conversation. Sharon Engel, your thoughts?
Well, I'm sitting here listening to you and Sam talk about really what we've been talking about almost this whole show, and that's the foundation of our country and why we feel that our freedom is so grounded in the Scripture. I hear Sam talking about that. And Sam, we asked our last guest why this is going on in our country right now. It seems like we're denying those Christian roots. What do you think is really the basic reason for that?
Well, Sharon, I think the reason is because as a nation, and it has not just happened yesterday, it's been for a generation. We as a nation, if you get right down to biblical terms, we have done what God told Israel of old when he took them into the land years ago not to do. And that was this. He said, I'll take you into a land, and you can compare it to the United States, a new land, a new world established. God said to them, I'm going to bless you. If you do what I say, I'll bless you. Your herds will increase. Your wealth will increase. Your security will be there. You will be a light to the nations. Our founders said that. They wanted to be a shining city on a hill. They came with the same concept, patterning after the same thing. The warning that God gave was, whenever you get to the point after you become wealthy, after you become prominent, after you become influential, don't forget that I am the one who blessed you. At which point you believe that what you got came from your own hands, from your own intellect, or your own whatever it may be. At that point in time, you will have walked away from me, and you will be worshiping other things. Ultimately, our nation came to that same point, and how do we manifest? And we see it? Well, we threw God out of the school. We took the Ten Commandments out of schools. We said you could not pray. We rule in the courts that the killing of the unborn, in fact, is a lawful thing when God says it's obviously a sin. We do the same thing with marriage. So we've taken, not only denied, even the very motto on our coins, in God we trust. In fact, we throw that out, and we replace it with we trust everything else other than that. This is what the problem is in America, and all of these things that we're beginning to see are manifestations of us as a nation and a people saying we really can go it on our own, we're big, we're tough, we can't fall, and in fact, that is the worst place to be in, and I think we're beginning to see that there's some real cracks in the walls.
Well, and I think the thing that has been the most amazing to me is this willingness to believe the lie. We have so little truth coming out. We watch Hillary Clinton stand before a subcommittee and perjure herself, basically. I'm just astonished by the depth of denial. Are you, Sam, or is this just to be expected?
No, I mean, that's a good question, Sharon. I mean, I think it's the natural result of throwing out absolute truth. In other words, bottom line is you throw out God, who is truth, and you say, I don't believe that there is such a thing as absolute truth. But what's it replaced with? Well, it's replaced with truth for the moment. It's replaced with moral relativism. It's replaced with the power of the individual, the dictator who thinks because I'm in a position and what I say rules and I can make it happen, and for him, that becomes truth. That's what we're seeing. So when the president and the others, for instance, over there in Paris, stand up and say the greatest threat to the security of the world is this nonsensical global warming, and to take and blame ISIS on global warming and these kinds of things, those are lies. I mean, they're flat-out lies. They violate all kinds of things, but yet they stand there with a straight face trying to convince the peoples of the world of these things. I mean, there is no extent to which a lie cannot be manufactured and believed when ultimate source of truth and truth itself is rejected.
And I'm reminded of the lie that Harry Reid told about Mitt Romney's financial situation, and then when he was confronted and they said you lied about that, he said you can call it what you like, but Romney didn't win, did he? And so the other thing that amazes me is that this is all part of the end justifies the means.
Well, it is, because at that point, the moral absolute is replaced with whatever is convenient or whatever I think can realistically accrue or happen, pragmatism. And, I mean, our politics are full of it, but frankly, our pulpits are full of it, and people themselves have embraced it, and this is the problem. If we do not understand that there's light, all you're going to see is darkness. If you don't understand that there's truth, you're going to believe a lie. And, of course, that's what this program that we're on today, your program, and others are there to help hopefully put out what is, in fact, is the truth, and how to think relative to thinking through and coming to a point of truth. Because if we don't, we will absolutely fall for anything, and we have many people falling literally for anything, and even a lie, and that lie, in fact, can kill them.
Well, in your APN, American Pastors Network, now you're calling pastors to come out and to really begin the renewal in this nation. But how do we get pastors to really come past? Some of them I know are fearful of this 501c3 excuse, or sometimes I wonder if they're not more afraid of offending their congregation by being too controversial. What do you think keeps pastors in the churches from really confronting the culture?
They're really, we know there's one of five reasons. One is the 501c3 thing that you mentioned, and that's a bogus fear. That's not true. That's number one. But number two, many are just, again, pastors are people, and people are driven many times by fears. Who really wants controversy? Not really many of us. And pastors steer away from controversy. So if you know that if you're going to talk about a matter of public policy, you're going to talk about, for instance, these refugees, you're going to talk about is global warming true? If you're going to talk about secular education and what our kids are getting in our state schools, as an example, or you talk about a number of these things, you know that there are going to be people sitting there in the pew who are going to say, wait a minute, Pastor, I don't agree with that, so therefore they don't go that direction. But frankly, the application of truth to those things are the only things that helps to direct it, to make salt, to put it in that perspective, into a decaying culture. There is no other thing. So pastors are afraid of controversy. There are also, many don't even know the historic role of pastors in our country, the fact that they played a primary role, that those in the legislatures and Congress of early days actually went to church to find out what the Bible said about taxation and the role of government and that kind of thing. They're afraid of those things, and they're also in many cases been taught in their seminary instruction that you cannot nor should not talk about what is political or what you hear on the radio, because that is a violation of separation of church and state, which in fact is another lie by those who don't want God in government.
Hey, if I could jump in for a minute, Sharon and Sam, I wanted to get your opinion, your perspective. You both served in state legislatures. Sam, you in Pennsylvania, Sharon out in Nevada. You both ran for U.S. Senate. I wanted to get your opinion. Can state legislatures or can Congress do anything to stop this administration from letting these people in? I mean, let's face it, folks. These people, they're coming here. They don't have a job. They don't have an education. They don't have a skill. They don't have training. They don't have money. They're coming here with their shirts on their back. And I'll start with you, Sharon. Is there anything that you see that state legislatures can do to stop governors like Tom Wolf or Jack Merkel or Jerry Brown from letting these people in?
Well, we do need to call them out on this, and I think Sam would agree with that. We can't just allow them to do this without confronting them with the problem with allowing these refugees to come in, and they are truly those refugee hotties. I thought that was a great term to call them. We also need to understand that the really basic problem is that we have porous borders, and once they're let in over the national border, we do not have boundaries within the state, so there isn't really much a state can do to keep them from coming, say, from Michigan once they're let in, or Pennsylvania once they're let in, and coming to a state that said, we don't want them here. There's really not much there, so we really need to go back to the basics, which is we need secure borders, and that is a federal mandate to give us a common defense and secure those borders. I don't know about you, Sam, but I think it's the best we can do at this point is confront the issue.
Well, I would agree, and I would say in addition to that, I mean, support can be given for the majority of those governors who have said not in our state. Now, obviously, the Obama administration says, hey, you can't tell us what to do. It's under our control. It is to some extent. On the other hand, it's not. And the only way you can stop the abuse of power, which is what is happening from the administration, is by other authority opposing authority. So the governors can, in fact, stand up, and they can not only make a case, they can, in fact, do certain things to help stop that from happening. Those governors who have the backbone to stand up need to be supported publicly, and their legislatures need to back them up, as I think in many cases they are. In cases like Pennsylvania, where the governor said, I'm just going to go ahead and do what I'm going to do, you get the same kind of problem that you have in Washington, where the president says, I'm going to do what I'm going to do, and Congress sits back and watches. You're right, Sharon. There is a problem in those kind of circumstances, but certainly the issue needs to be raised up, which is what we try to do in our letters, raise the issue and call into question the security and the responsibility of those in the position of law enforcement and administration of the laws, governors and all that. Ask them, what are you doing to ensure the safety of the people? We're in a bad spot from that perspective.
Sam, do you have time for one more question?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, my question is, who's going to support these people? And the states aren't going to get any help from the federal government. It's like an unfunded mandate that these people are just thrown into the system. And second part of that question is, liberals like Tom Wolf never want a crisis to go to waste. Right now, there's a big budget battle in Pennsylvania. It's been like 250 days since there's been 150 days since there's been a budget passed. Can you foresee him using this as a crisis to put more pressure on the state legislature to pass a budget which is calling for massive tax increases?
Well, I think, Rick, possibly that's the case. But you start your question out by what's going to be the impact. Well, the impact already of these millions of those that have come in that don't even know who they are. The impact is that they've already been straining the budgets of the states. They've been straining the federal government budget, the criminal justice budget, the judicial budget is blown way out of sight. I mean, a great majority of those in prisons are being held there, and they're non-citizens. So, no, you are correct, Rick. And bringing these in that they're bringing in here, frankly, I personally believe that part of it is to help break the economic back of our nation. They're not being brought in to help strengthen our culture, to help strengthen the number of people who are committed to the constitutional rule of law, who fear God, who love their neighbor. These folks that are coming in, most of them, because what the president's doing, are coming in with an ideology that says kill your neighbor and harm those who don't believe like you believe. Rick, there's a problem here, and I believe it starts with the top. It's a strategy, and it's not a strategy to improve or strengthen our nation. It's a strategy to strain it at every seam.
Sam Ruhr, president of the American Pastors Network, I want to thank you so much for joining us. Sam, please tell our audience how they can follow your work and your radio show.
Great. Thank you, Rick. Yeah, they can go to AmericanPastorsNetwork.net, AmericanPastorsNetwork.net. We have a website there, and you can go and find a lot of things that are there, but that's where we're to have you go. And thank you, Rick, for being on your program. Appreciate it very much.
Great to talk with you again, Sam. I want to let our listeners know that we're going to go a little long today. We had so much to put into our show today. We want to have a quick update on the shootings in San Bernardino, California. We're going to take a quick break. Sharon's going to stay with me. We're going to have Doug Driesel from Doug and Blaine explain the game, and we're going to tell you what we know so far about this shooting out in San Bernardino, California. But you are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show. We're Sharon Engel, Rick Trader. We'll be right back.
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos radio network. We are establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired of the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos radio network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 on your AM dial, or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our website, CCRSnetwork.com, for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where now even more newsmakers go to be heard.
If you're a veteran, I want to thank you for your service and tell you about a VA loan program that may be available to purchase a home, which requires little or no money down. With your DD-214 and certificate of eligibility, you may qualify for a VA loan. The experienced loan officers at U.S. Mortgage Corporation have the highest respect for those who served and fought for our freedom in all branches of the military. Your sacrifice deserves a reward. That reward may be home ownership with the help of a VA loan. If you're a homeowner and a veteran, the VA also has a program to help you refinance. Call U.S. Mortgage Corporation at 877-213-9977. That's 877-213-9977. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is a licensed mortgage banker in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware, and an equal housing lender. NMLS number 3901. U.S. Mortgage Corporation is located at 201 Old Country Road, Suite 140, Melville, New York, 11747. This advertisement applies to first lien mortgages. That number again is 877-213-9977. U.S. Mortgage Corporation, helping you make it home and honoring those who served.
This holiday season, help Soldiers for Stockings improve the morale and welfare of members of our armed forces deployed overseas. Now through November 20th, there is so much work to be done, and you can help in many ways. Download the stocking pattern from stockingsforsoldiers.org and start sewing today. Volunteer to help decorate and assemble stockings. Donate Christmas candies, snacks, nuts, chips, drink mixes, DVDs, books, magazines, lip balm, toiletries, and other items needed to fill the stocking. Or help make packets of snowman soup, hot chocolate, to send along with the stockings. For more information, patterns, and a list of items needed, visit stockingsforsoldiers.org. This holiday season, help send our troops a touch of home. For many, it's all they will receive. All stockings need to be completed by November 20th. So get started today at stockingsforsoldiers.org. That's stockingsforsoldiers.org. Stockings for Soldiers, sending stockings filled with joy to our soldiers in harm's way for the 9th consecutive year.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Engel and yours truly, Rick Trader. For rebroadcast of our shows, check out our websites, ccrshow.com or ccrsnetwork.com. Could also hear rebroadcasts of our shows at 9 a.m. in the morning by logging on to leadingedgeradionetwork.com, at 1 p.m. roarradio.net, at 6 p.m. thepunitpress.com. You could also hear our show any time of the day or night from your telephone by calling 832-999-1199. We're going a little long with our program today. Why? Because we can. We also wanted to bring you the latest what we know about this shooting in San Bernardino, California. Sharon Engel has agreed to stay on with us. The latest report that we have is 14 people dead, another 14 injured at a shooting at a center for people with developmental disabilities. Apparently, up to three men broke in with assault weapons and shot up a Christmas party. Now, according to Sam Geller's website, and again, this is according to Sam Geller's website, that the Riverside Police dispatchers have broadcasted general advisories that these suspects involved in the shootings may have fled in a black GMC Yukon. The broadcast indicated there were unconfirmed reports that the suspect were male and of Middle Eastern origin, armed with AK-47s and body armor. And apparently there is a report of a package that they left by them, that the police were going to handle this package with a robot. They fear it may be a bomb. And also joining us now is one of the co-hosts of Doug and Blaine Explain the Game, Doug Driesel. And Doug, thanks for joining us today on short notice.
Yeah, and what we can say, Rick and Sharon, is that it's nice to talk to you too, but what we can say is, isn't it wonderful that California has very strict gun laws, because we see now how the gun laws protect these people. Once again, I'm going to state something that we state on our show, and our whole show next Tuesday will be about this gun violence. Gun laws protect no one because criminals do not follow laws. That's the way it is. And it's a sad, sad case when you have the President of the United States of America immediately come out and start calling for more gun control when something like this occurs. These guys, it's already been reported several times, are of Middle Eastern descent. This is obviously an act of terror. It's going to wash its way out to be an act of terror, although it has not been called that yet. It's going to wash its way out to that. We all can pretty much sit here and say to ourselves, that's what's going to happen.
Sharon, we were talking earlier today about the left and their little motto, never let a crisis go to the waste. What Doug's talking about, need for more gun control. We hear this every time we have a shooting like this, Sharon. And since, I think, 1950, there have been like 80-some mass shootings in this country. Only 2 of them have not been in a gun-free zone. I mean, my gosh, Sharon, I personally believe these gun-free zones make people targets.
I don't know if they make people targets, but they surely make perpetrators bold. And I think that I would agree with that it's a lot easier to do a crime if you don't have a fear of retribution. That's why Florida, when they increased their gun freedom, saw a general decline in crime. And the reason is because they knew that they might be the victim in the crime rather than the one that was victimizing. And that's the same thing that occurs any time that people start thinking about that. I know we used to do prison ministry, and one of the guys there told me that he liked to rob beauty parlors. And I said, why is that? And he says, because there's no heroes there. They don't carry guns, and they don't want to fight, and they all carry cash, and it's easy. And so that's just part of this idea that if you're not expecting resistance, it's easier for a criminal to really do the crime. And in this case, we have a whole society, if you will, that's disarming, in the process of disarming. And in this disarming, our enemies are really taking advantage of it.
Thank God. I'm going to step in, Sharon, and thank God in the flyover states, which is what our show represents. And we see more and more. And on our show yesterday, we explained about some Somali refugees or immigrants who had attacked good folks in Kentucky, and the fact that they were open carrying, they were able to thwart these attacks. One was with a fixed blade 8-inch knife. That's close to a machete. So yes, I can say with unequivocally that I know for a fact that in our areas, I carry, my father carries. We were actually accosted at a sizzling sirloin the other day, and by a man, and my father was carrying, and that put a stop to that.
Really?
Yes. And these things, yeah, I don't, but
when you say accosted, Doug, tell us about what went on.
Well, it was basically a liberal versus conservative ideology whereby the gentleman saw my father's weapon, and he overheard, as you guys probably know, me and Blaine are quite vocal about our disdain for the president, and and I'm sorry, I have no disdain for the office, but I absolutely do not respect Barack Obama, and in that my father joins me in that feeling. We were discussing it, and this guy come over and just starts screaming at us, and he looks down and sees my dad's gun, and he says, "There you go. That's what you're talking." He says, "I'm going to find Homeland Security because you guys are a threat." Now, we were threatening no one. We were eating fried chicken. I mean, this was just a meal. But this is the kind of thing that if you're carrying a weapon, you can do something about this if you need to. Now, my dad didn't go off half-cocked and pull it out and shoot the guy. The guy didn't deserve to die, But the thing is if he had approached us with a weapon, he would have been in trouble.
Yeah.
Just tell you. And in the flyover states, thank God, in Missouri, in Kentucky, in Arkansas, in Texas now, Rick Abbott is doing a wonderful job. We now have open carry is the rule of law. And I got to tell you, my gun lays on the seat, Blaine's gun lays on the seat, and we are always armed because we know that this kind of thing that's happening in California, and Sharon, I'm going to argue a little with you on that. It does make them targets. It's a shooting gallery. That's what it is. When you have laws against weapons for law-abiding citizens, you have made effectively a shooting gallery for thugs, for terrorists, and for people who have no respect for the law.
If I could jump in, the latest that we have here is 14 people dead, 14 people injured.
Pray for their families.
God bless that. 3 suspects are believed to be armed with AK-47 type weapons. A law enforcement officer told CNN Barack Obama reinstated his call for more gun control reforms in the wake of the mass shootings. Speaking to CBS News, Obama said Congress should act in a bipartisan manner to close loopholes, including one that allows people on the TSA no-fly list to legally purchase firearms. 4 adults have been transported to the Loma Linda University Medical Center, and the hospital is expecting 3 more patients. And the nature of the wounds was not described. Obama squad found a suspicious package on the second floor of a building at this facility for this.
I can state to you, Rick, that they did just come out and say they did detonate the package. Now, we don't know what it was.
Right.
But the robot did detonate it.
And this was a center for people with developmental disabilities. They were in the middle of a Christmas party.
Yep. And we're not quite sure at this point, I don't think, that, as far as I can tell, if it was centered around the employees for the Center of Disability or if it was a rented-out room in the same building. I think they're still discerning that. But, you know, the fact is there's 14 people who went to see their maker today in a state that has high gun laws. And I've got to tell you that it's another example of a president so out of touch, so completely either out of touch or I'm going to poison another thing. It might be exactly part of the plan. You know, you just never know. That's why we talk about the game on our show. You never know what they're really doing at the top unless you just watch it. You can't just call it one thing. There are 2 or 3 different angles to this gun control thing. But one thing is very clear. They're trying to take the guns away from the citizens, and one way they're doing it, we know this in the flyover states, if you walk into Walmart, is taking away our ammo. They're leaving us our guns.
Well, Sharon, you mentioned that earlier today when we had Sam Rohrer on, that you living in Nevada see a lot of people coming from California to buy ammunition.
We do. We have several big stores here in Reno. In fact, Shields and Cabela's that stock ammunition and weapons. And at any given weekend or even weekdays when a shipment is expected, they will be lined up early in the morning. And I'm talking before the sun comes up, 4 or 5 in the morning. There will be lines, long lines of people wanting to buy ammunition, and most of those are from California. They hear about it, they come, they almost camp out to be able to buy that ammunition and take it back to California because it's just not available there. And we've been seeing this phenomena since 2009. It has been happening. We had a CSI international convention here, and I watched them take the ammunition out of that convention by the caseload. They just cannot keep it in stock here in Nevada because we do have a lot more freedom-oriented laws, and we do allow our citizens to protect themselves, and it's just not the same with our neighbor directly to the west.
Much to the dismay of your former opponent, Harry Reid. You know, I mean, Nevada is staying a very free state, and we're all very proud that you guys are. I think that one of the things in the West that the West has, like we have here in the flyover states, is we are a protect our own type people, and Arizona is that way. And you know, you hear very rarely of the one rare instance where the shooting of the Congresswoman in Tucson, you heard of that. But in most cases, you aren't going to hear about people walking into a Safeway or any kind of grocery store where people are open carrying weapons and accosting people. It's not going to happen. And
I'm glad that you point out that we do have open carry in Nevada, which means you can carry it on your hip and anybody can see that weapon. But beyond that, we do have a problem here, because we've had now 2 school shootings. And again, Rick, that's that gun safe zone.
Yeah,
things occur there.
Yeah, just Emery Morrow from Politichicks, who was a guest here yesterday on Conservative Commandos, she posted this just now at a press conference. An FBI agent was asked, quote, "Was this a terrorist attack?" His answer, "We do not know."
Yeah, they do not know, but how many reports have to come in that the men were of Middle Eastern descent from eyewitnesses before we already pretty much can draw this case? I mean,
well, and the rest of it as well, heavily armed, body armor. These were warriors. This is not just
Amen, Sharon.
a crazy shooter.
Amen. They slipped in and they slipped out. No one can find them. They are not in captivity. They are not shot. You know, most of the time, Rick, when you're dealing with this, you deal with a nutcake who walks in with no intention of ever leaving. They walk in maybe with some body armor so they can do more damage before they're killed. But they don't have a plan of escape. They just walk into a movie theater or whatever and blast everybody. These three guys, and Sharon, you're right, these three guys planned this so perfectly that a city of the size of San Bernardino, keep in mind, this is not Hooterville, guys. I mean, this is San Bernardino, California. And these are very well-trained detectives, and they cannot find the suspects. Now,
well, you know, Doug, and Sharon, let's say you are under attack. Let's say you have your cell phone in your hand.
Right.
Let's say you immediately call 911 asking for help. How many people are going to die in the 5 or 10 minutes it takes for the police to even get there?
We have a crazy law here. My wife is a school teacher, okay? And my former opponent in the state assembly here, you know, who did beat me, he's still there. He came up with this wonderful little plan whereby there is a call plan for each school to call if an active shooter takes over, and it's all done by cell phone. Our schools back here are made out of solid rock, and your phones do not work 95 to 98% of the time at any part of the school. That's the kind of laws that these crazy loon left-wing people come up with. They don't work. And none of this, the only deterrent to what's going on here is, number one, stronger immigration laws. One thing that we all differ on Trump, but Trump, Cruz, and a lot of the other guys all agree on one thing. We have to stop the immigration of these terrorists, because I'm telling you, Syria we've already admitted that we will get as many as 10% of them will be terrorists. If we get 80,000 people, that's 8,000 possible people to kill us in our own country. Now, you know, I don't know if you guys have heard that figure or not, but I've heard it many times. You know, and so with that in mind, and we're wanting to take in the world's laundry, whenever right now we're being attacked left, right, and center. And I'm sorry, but I'm not for it.
I think you're pointing to an interesting phenomena, too, when it comes to those that we have elected to represent us. Often, these folks don't live in the real world that we live in. I live in a neighborhood. We don't have gates into that neighborhood. It's an open neighborhood. Anyone can walk down my street any time of the day or night. They can come in from anywhere. They could come in from California and drive down my street or walk down my street. And many of these legislators and representatives live in a gated community that has a guard at the gate to make sure that those undesirables don't come in. Now, if they're unwilling to live in neighborhoods with the rest of us, then it's no wonder that they don't really understand why we need to be safe in our homes. They've made provision for themselves, but they will not even lock the door at our borders. They will not even allow the gate to be closed there, and they live behind that gate themselves. So, I see this a lot, especially
Sharon,
in our
and by
state.
the way, I love your city, Reno. I've played in the Hara showroom for so many years. Worked for Bill Hara, and I know that you're as rural as a city can be. You know, I mean, it's a very rural type city. And back here, Rick, back here in Arkansas, I live on a beautiful lake with 6 other houses. Anyone can come up in my yard, and has, and it doesn't fare well for them. But
I wonder why, Doug.
it can be done, you know.
Well, I don't think it's your dog. I heard your little dog earlier, and I don't think your dog's a big deterrent.
Actually, that wasn't the dog. That was the my former opponent's Pit Yorkie friend Ken. No, it was my dog. He let out a little yelp, and I'm sorry about that.
That's all right. That's all right.
It's not good radio, but that's that's real radio. But I'll tell you this much is that in here, as in where Sharon lives, which is very much different than the East Coast, where there is a lot of protected neighborhoods. There are almost none here. I live in a town of 5,000 people, Sharon, and I can pretty much say that I can access any yard anytime I want to. So we have to be protected here, just like you do in Reno. So I'm concurring with Sharon on that.
Well,
I hope you're concurring too that when we elect officials that don't live in neighborhoods, that live in areas that are protected, we are asking for it because those people don't really understand where Middle America, where the majority of us live.
That's why I said I know that your city, as a general rule, Reno, outside of some of the more exclusive neighborhoods, is a very rural city with ranch-style homes side by side. Am I correct?
That's correct.
And I know too that access to neighborhoods there and Sparks all around the area is very easy. You can walk. I can walk from a baseball field and access 50 yards inside of 2 minutes. You know, so if I'm a terrorist and it's a gun-free zone, it's just a shooting gallery. Thank God you have open carry there, Sharon, because I'm telling you what, back here, open carry is the law, and we are using it. Rick?
Yeah, I'm just as we are talking, I'm perusing the internet looking for updates again.
We just had the commander-in-chief on, and he had taken a little glycerin and put it in one of his eyes, and he was talking about how we need to do away with guns. You know,
yeah,
it's useless conversation. When that's the conversation they have, we have 14 dead Americans. Okay. People who aren't going home tonight. And they're not dead because of the AK-47. They're dead because of the jerk holding it.
And they're also dead because of poor governmental policies, Doug.
Exactly.
You know, the problem is, you know, we need to start putting Americans first. Exactly. It's great to be all altruistic and, we want to take care of people, but there are too many people out there who want to hurt us, who want to destroy our way of life and our culture and our society for whatever reasons in their crazy little minds, but they do not like our way of life. They want to destroy it
in droves. We're inviting them.
But we need to take care of ourselves first. We've seen it in Paris, we've seen it in France, we've seen it in other attacks in the United States here. My gosh, what is it going to take? And not just for the politicians, but for we the people to say, hey, enough is enough, and demand that we are protected. Either by ourselves or by our governments or by our police forces, but we're not. We are targets.
You're dead right. You're both right. And I'll tell you this
Please don't say dead right. I don't want to be dead right.
Oh, well, unfortunately, some folks say, I hear you there. But let me tell you this much. There was one man I listened to talk, and I sang the national anthem at the I think it was 88, I can't remember the year, Missouri Republican Convention. And I sat and talked with Pat Buchanan and got to know the guy a little bit. And I'm going to tell you something. People look at his border policy and say, man, he's crazy. He is not. And it's starting to show that the policies that he brought forth back then, the America First policies, probably would keep something like what happened today from happening. Because if these guys prove out to be Middle Eastern terrorists, then they got in here by our own hand. As you said, Rick, we brought them here. You know, we invited them here to kill 14 Americans, if that's the case.
more than the case, it's what's going on. I mean, when you talk about the attacks in Paris, one of those people were come in through this mass immigration.
How does he attack that? He says, well, it didn't quite have the validity of the Hebdo attack. It's like, validity? This is a Muslim attack against the Christian right in whatever country they're in. I mean, there is no validity to the Charlie Hebdo. It's not because somebody drew a cartoon of Allah. They daily draw cartoons about my Christ Savior that make me sick. But I'm not grabbing a gun and going to kill them. It's their right, you know. And that's what we have. We have a upper echelon of people in this government, namely people like John Kerry, who sat with Jane Fonda in Vietnam and talked this country down, and lied openly about what our country did to the Vietnamese people. Lied. It's a known fact. He's a liar. And this man is in charge of our State Department. We have a problem. And our problem is systemic, and it's at the very top of our nation. And these are people that we've allowed to take control of a government, whether they are Democrat, Republican, because I'm going to tell you what, McCain, I'm not too darn proud of that guy either. You know, we've got some problems at the very tip top of this government that we as Americans need to get a control of and get these people out.
Well, I'm reading a little story here that's just come out. The suspects were armed with long guns. These were people that came prepared. They were armed with long guns, not handguns, Bergwijn told reporters. Most of the victims were centrally located in one area of the facility. This is telling, this last little sentence that I'm going to read. Police didn't exchange gunfire with the shooters. To your point, Rick, it was all over by the time the police got there.
Shepard Smith just said that on Fox News as well. The police didn't have a chance to catch them.
And the police never will. It takes I don't care if you're right next to a police department, a police station. If you call, if the department is next door, it's going to take them a minute or two to get there. How many rounds can be fired in a minute? How many rounds can be fired in 30 seconds? That's what I'm saying. The police are not able to...
We're blaming the rounds and the weapons. We're not blaming our immigration policy, who is allowing people to come into this country and kill us. We forget about the beheading, although it was an American citizen, but he was a Muslim. The guy who beheaded the lady in Oklahoma. We forget about these things. The news media in their 15-minute cycles washes these things out of our memory. But this has started occurring about 2 years ago in heavy fashion. And because it's becoming so relevant to daily life that people are being killed in mass, we forget about those small things. We forget that at Fort Hood, Texas, our own president refuses to this day to call it anything but workplace violence, when that man was shouting Allah, Allah Akbar and shooting up our American soldiers who couldn't have guns because it was a gun-free zone. Remember those things, America. Remember that. Remember that when you're voting. It's coming up time for us to take care of this. And remember to vote in somebody tough. If Cruz is your man because he's a tough guy, that's fine. If Trump's your man because he's a tough guy, that's fine. But I want somebody tough to deal with this problem. Somebody. I don't want anybody mamby-pamby. And this shooting today is exactly the reason.
You know, Doug and Sharon, what we have to be careful now is just like in Paris. There were 6 attacks within a matter of an hour or two.
Right.
We have to be careful. How can you be careful that we don't have 6 attacks in the next couple hours? Well, these men got away. Who's to say they're not preparing to go out and strike again? I mean, they did this so far. They've gotten away with it.
Sharon, you're still reading, obviously. I know you're being silent, which means you're looking. You're a studious person.
I'm looking at this. I'm looking at the three.
Did you see about the other mall right down the road where they had to clear everybody out because somebody did come in tactical gear, came through the back door, and I think the police were able to stop that one. We're going to find out more about that probably in the next hour or two. But there was no one shot there because they did get a hold of that one. But like you said, Rick, how many, if they have 6, 7 targets, 3 or 4 is going to slip through,
And this one, they're saying that these 3 suspects are believed to be armed with AK-47 type weapons. That's not your pistol. That's not my pistol. That's not what we arm ourselves with as citizens. And yet Obama is aiming at citizen armor, which is, we at least let us have our pistols, We're not. Well,
I do know that if you go to my
AK-47.
sister's house, Sharon, which you would love it, she lives in Seabrook, Texas. Next to the bedroom window upstairs leans an AR-15, an AR-17, an AK-47. Pretty much they're ready to go, and none of those guns get shot at anywhere except for a shooting range. But let me tell you what. Somebody gives you a big and walks up in the yard, and it's going to be to their dismay that they did that. And that's what Americans need to do in mass. We need to remember that we have a Second Amendment right to protect ourselves. And if states pass laws that take away that right, then we need to go back and get rid of the people who are making that happen and fix it. In Arkansas, we're having to fight for our open carry. We fight every election, but we're going to keep it. Sharon, I'm sure Nevada's going to keep it because there are tough guys out there. And
we're trying to be tough. I think Americans are trying to be tough, but when you have leaders who are calling for disarming us and who are not living in the real world, Doug, it's hard to be tough in the face of that,
It is.
We need
it
to,
is. And Rick, I got to tell you, too.
elect people who are tough as well.
Sharon, I was rooting for you all the way against the Harry Reid. I'm sorry. But we've got to get rid of people who are anti-American values. And they're not, they're everywhere, Rick, and they're all over the East Coast. Thank God for Conservative Commando Radio Network. And I mean that. When I found out about you guys through one of our good friends, I got to tell you something. I'm very proud of the work you're doing. And I think that it's going to break out and it's going to spread like wildfire because as this happens, and I guarantee you in this month, this won't be the only one.
Well, let's give our listeners an update. You are listening to an expanded coverage of the Conservative Commandos radio show. We're Sharon Engel. I'm Rick Trader. Our guest is Doug Driesel. Doug is the co-host of Doug and Blaine Explains the Game. And just to bring everybody up to date, between 2 and 3 o'clock this afternoon, up to 3 armed men entered a facility in San Bernardino, California, a center for people with developmental disabilities. At least 14 people were killed. Another 14 people were wounded in the shootings. The suspects were armed with long guns. These were people that came prepared. They were armed with long guns, not handguns. At this point, no one knows or no one will say if it is a terrorist incident or not. The shooters got away in a black SUV, and we do have other reports from Pam Geller's website that it is reported that these 3 men, these 3 attackers, are of Middle Eastern descent. Reports are that these 3 men attacked in the middle of a Christmas party. 4 adults have been transported to the Loma Linda University Medical Center. They expect more to arrive shortly. The bomb squad found a suspicious package also in the second floor of a building, and as Doug reported to us, this package has been detonated. No idea as of yet what was in this facility. Barack Obama, his response is, well, we need more gun control.
He's like the parrot that never stops. I mean, He has one. You wind him up, and he tries to take your rights away. That's the way this is. Let me tell you something else that I did hear, and both of you, we haven't addressed this. As they started this, I heard Shep Smith say that there was a bulldozer type thing on the scene where they were able to raise themselves up to the second floor. Now, which I think is where all the shootings
Raise
occurred.
themselves who?
The shooters were able to raise themselves up.
What?
That's what I heard early on in this deal.
Okay.
I haven't heard a lot more about it since. Sharon, do you have anything more on that?
I do not. It's very interesting how sparse the news really is on this, and I'm wondering, we are always suspicious of our media trying to cover these things up because it is an inconvenient truth.
It is an inconvenience. You're dead on. You're dead right. And there are things, I tell people all the time, and Sharon and Rick, we're about the truth on the Conservative Commando Network, and I know you are. But we all know that when we watch the TV news, we all know that each station has their own way of telling things to make their constituency happy. So I tell people I watch Fox because I like their lies better than CNN's lies. And so you're right. We have to be very suspicious of this news media who reports what they want to report or what they are told to report. There are numerous cases now where we know that the Obama administration has paid networks to promote a certain ideal in a certain story. And
well, I saw a report not too long ago that Hillary Clinton was interviewed by one of the major networks. I don't know which of the alphabet networks it was, but as a what do you want to call it? As a role for interviewing her, she supplied the questions.
Absolutely. I saw the same report. She absolutely turned in the questions, and so she would be prepared for the answers. I don't have the fear of Hillary Clinton that a lot of people do. I'm from Arkansas, okay? I don't fear the Clintons. And she is
should.
She is not Bill Clinton.
From what I understand, people that know them down in Arkansas have a tendency to turn up dead.
Well, I used to work with Roger, and I can tell you I know that...
Roger who? Roger who?
Roger Clinton.
Okay.
And just as a matter of, he's in the music business too, and we did jingles together back in the 80s when he first got out of prison.
Interesting.
And I can tell you this. I met both Bill and Hillary, and she has a personality that is so disdainable. I can't imagine her cutting through to the populace, even over Donald Trump, who they say has America's disdain. I don't think that in the end that America is going to vote for this woman. She's not Bill Clinton. He's a likable son of a gun. He lies. He does whatever he can to be elected. He does things that hurts us. But in the end, when you're standing and talking to him, you're thinking, I could have a beer with this guy.
Yeah.
But that's not Hillary. That's not what you're dealing with. So,
well, I've talked to Dick Morris about Hillary Clinton. Dick Morris
Dick has the goods. Yeah, you're right.
Oh, Dick Morris was very instrumental in getting Bill elected and reelected. And I said to Dick Morris one time, I said, be honest with me, are there nights when you go to bed before your head hits the pillow that you regret helping her? And he said, or helping him and her, and he said, absolutely. He has nothing good to say about Hillary.
Oh yeah, no, she really is a true liberal, if not.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say the word communist because then people turn away from you.
Yeah.
We look at people like Bernie Sanders and they call themselves socialists, and then they describe their policies and what they want to do, and it's as close to communism as you. But if you call it that, you're called a crackpot. You're immediately called out and demonized as a nut. Well, here's what's going on right now because of the people that we're electing, and we have an administration that has not got their eye on the ball. All they can think of is getting your guns. And the eye on the ball should have been on this. It should be on immigration. Because we're going to find out in the end that these men, there's going to be an immigration issue involved in this. I would give you a 60% chance right now.
Doug, let me just update our listeners. As many as 3 gunmen, believed to be wearing military-style gear, opened fire Wednesday at a Southern California social services center in San Bernardino, California, killing at least 14 people, wounding more than a dozen others. At a police news conference, the chief of police said the suspects may have fled the area in a dark-colored SUV. They remain at large. The number of people killed and wounded were primary estimates that could change. And according to the Associated Press, there are reports from witnesses that between 1 and 3 shooters, my gosh, when you're in a situation like that, it's hard to count. It's still an active, fluid situation, adding police were still trying to clear the complex. They have not located any suspects. Barack Obama was briefed on the attack by his Homeland Security director. Police said several people locked themselves in their offices, desperately waiting to be rescued by the police after gunfire erupted at the Inland Regional Center, which serves people with developmental disabilities. The attack took place in a conference area where the San Bernardino County Department of Public Health was holding a banquet, and Maybeth Field, president and CEO of the Social Service Center, said the building housed at least 25 employees, as well as a library and a conference center. FBI agents and other law enforcement authorities converged on the center and searched for the shooter or shooters. Manhunt went on. Stores, office buildings, and at least one school were locked down. San Bernardino is 60 miles to the east of Los Angeles. Roads were blocked off. Triage units were set up outside, and people were being wheeled away on stretchers. Others walked away quickly with their hands up. You know what this reminds me of, Doug and Sharon, when they talk about people locking themselves in a building. I remember when I was a kid in school, we used to have these nuclear fallout drills where we used to duck and cover. I mean, duck and cover from a nuclear bomb. Sure. Lock yourself in an office building. Some guy there with an AK-47. You're really protected. You know, Doug, I want to talk a little bit more about these gun-free zones. About a year ago in suburban Philadelphia, a mental patient went into a facility, a hospital in Upper Darby, Pennsylvania, with a couple of guns, 40 rounds of ammunition, shot and killed his social worker, shot his doctor, but the doctor, violating the gun-free zone laws, had a gun in his desk, pulled out a gun, shot the perpetrator. Now, in my opinion, that saved lives, because this guy didn't go there with a couple of guns and 40 rounds of ammunition just to shoot his social worker and his doctor. He was intending on hurting a lot more people. Was stopped by the doctor who had the gun in the desk.
We need congressmen and senators, and Sharon, I think you'll agree with this, and you would have been one of them, who have the toughness to stand up and say gun-free zones do not work, and our teachers and our principals and our doctors and our public administrators need to be able to be armed at all times, because they are the targets of these maniacs. You know, and to make them unprotected for some bizarre reason that somehow is going to make them safe, that's not going to make them safe. That's going to make them the bear at the shooting gallery. You know, that goes bang, 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 you're shooting it with the light. You know, that's exactly what you're making these people by telling them they cannot have guns. It's an argument to both of you in Arkansas right now. I know a couple of state senators who are trying to get a law passed that senators and congressmen can carry guns in our capital. Boy, won't that be the Wild West. Won't we be the news of the day? I mean,
hey, guys, I just wanted to report on this. This comes for our friends at MRC Newsbusters. As shooting unfolds, ABC laminates Obama's friends' frustration on gun control.
Wow.
Well, I just read one. It was just a quick little thing that someone put up as a tweet. He said, real gun control is those who have legal guns controlling those who have illegal guns.
Bingo, Sharon. Very nice.
Let me just quickly...
And I thought that was appropriate. I also think it's appropriate right now, guys, if you don't mind, could we stop and pray for a moment for these folks in San Bernardino? This could be any place in America.
Sharon, let's just hold that. We're almost up out of time. Let's hold that for the very end, if you don't mind.
All right.
Okay, I wanted to read this. Again, this is from Newsbusters. Journalists at ABC on Wednesday didn't hesitate to exploit the shooting in California as an opportunity to promote gun control. As details were still unfolding in the San Bernardino shooting, George Stephanopoulos laminated, "Obama has spoken after Sandy Hook, always coming out calling for more measures to make it more difficult for people to have access to the kinds of weapons that can pull off these kinds of mass shootings, as has been one of the great frustrations as my presidency." And that's quoting Barack Obama. Reporter Pierre Thomas said of gun control, quote, "It's been viewed by some as a political issue by some. How is gun control not a political issue when the two major parties strongly differ on it?" Thomas argued for gun control. "The solutions have been difficult in coming, and the moment appears to be nearing where there are going to be so many of these things that people are going to have to come together to try to figure out a way to deal with them." And that's quoting Pierre Thomas.
I'll tell Pierre Thomas something. I think Sharon will too. Arkansas and Nevada already know how to deal with it, don't we, Sharon?
Yes, we do.
and we're not scared a bit to let it. If they want to know how to deal with it, come talk to us. Because I'm going to tell you what, I'm so proud of our legislators, and some of them are Democrat that have voted for it, that are voting for our rights and freedoms to carry these weapons. Because I'm going to tell you what, Pierre Thomas can sit there and spew his garbage and George Stephanopoulos all they want to. And yes, I called it garbage. They can do it all day long. But you know what? In the end, the only way to stop an armed perpetrator who got his gun, no matter what law you pass, he's going to get his gun. And the only way to stop him is if you have one too. And guys, I'll stay out of your way after that. And I'm with you, Sharon. I pray in the name of Jesus Christ for these families. And that's my God and Savior. And I can tell you that I've already prayed for them. I'll pray for them again. I want everyone out there to pray for them. Very important.
All right. Again, the latest that we have.
Families are in peril.
The latest that we have, upwards of 14 people dead, upwards of 14 others shot, as 3 gunmen with assault weapons invaded a Christmas party at a San Bernardino Social Services Center. And the gunmen got away. There are some reports that these gunmen were of Middle Eastern appearance. Police also said that there was a package found at the facility, a suspicious package that has been detonated. No word as to what was in that package. Apparently, roads into and out of San Bernardino have been closed. Again, the gunmen are still at large.
Yes.
Doug, Sharon, anything more that you know?
I don't have anything more, Rick. It's just tragic. It's just tragic that we as Americans are living in this kind of atmosphere now, and our government, as Doug pointed out, can't do what we set them up to do, which is secure the common defense.
And all we need, folks, is strength. Now, we can argue about who the person is to take care of that, but remember, when you vote in 2016, you vote with your heart knowing that we need strength. We need strength, we need people of godly vision, and we need people that remember what the Founding Fathers set up for us, because we had a really great place until they started taking God out of schools.
Amen on that.
Trying to take our guns away. We had a great country.
Doug, I agree with that. If you look back to taking, a lot of the ills that our nation is facing, illegitimate pregnancies, marital breakups, absenteeism in school, poor school grades, go back to the early 1960s when Bible was taken out of school.
That's right.
So many of our social ills can be taken back to that time.
It's been said many times, and Sharon, I'm sure you've heard this. Say, well, where was your God at that school shooting that was said at Bono, Arkansas, when the kids back in, I guess it's been about 15 years ago, opened fire? And the answer by the pastors were, "Oh, you forgot to let him in."
Yeah. Hey, Sharon, we're just about out of time. I love your idea of saying a little prayer, and I'll let you lead us.
Oh, thank you, Rick. We do come to you, Heavenly Father, knowing that you are able to do exceedingly abundantly above what we ask or can even think to ask you for in this case. We lift up the residents of San Bernardino. We know that those 200,000 people have been touched by this tragedy, this violence, this act of sheer terror that has hurt this community and it has hurt this nation. Lord, we ask you to have mercy on us. We have done everything as a nation to exclude you from your role as our protector, our provider, and the one who keeps us safe. And you have even said in your word that we get the leaders that we deserve. Oh God, we ask that you would have mercy on us and give us a leader that we don't deserve, but one that you handpicked for us to bring us out of this mess. We ask you, Lord, to protect us. We submit ourselves to you, and we especially submit those families to you right now for your loving watch care. Show them how much you love them during this time. Give those who are treating the ones who are injured real skill to bring the healing process about. And we ask for you, Jehovah Rapha, to put your healing hand upon them at this moment, to give them encouragement in that community that we all over the U.S., our hearts are pouring out to you on their behalf, asking for your mercy, your grace, your provision, your love, and your comfort to guard their hearts and minds right now and give them that peace that surpasses all understanding. And it's in Jesus' name we pray for them. Amen.
Amen. Sharon Engel, I want to thank you so much for sitting in today as my co-host. Doug Driesel, host of Doug and Blaine Explain the Game, heard Tuesdays at 1 p.m. here as part of the Conservative Commandos Radio Network here at WNJC.
On our show this time, so you guys make sure and tune in.
All right. I also want to thank Mr. John Forsyth, Jr. for staying an extra hour just to work with the board so we could give you updates on what's going on in San Bernardino. But for right now, we're out of time. We got to run. We got to go. Take care. God bless. We'll see you tomorrow on the radio.
Thank you.
WNJC, Washington Township, Philadelphia. Philadelphia's Renaissance radio station. Brought to you from Forsyth Broadcasting. Or listen to us at WNJCradio.com. 1360 AM. WNJC, Washington Township, Philadelphia.